Hola a todos, hoy vamos a hablar de las diferencias entre las palabras que y cuál. So today we are going to look at the differences between the words que and cuál. And of course these are interrogatives which can be translated as what or which. Now, since they both can mean what or which, when are they going to mean what or when are they going to mean which? So that's what I'm going to explain today. The thing is that if we take the English question and put it directly into Spanish, we may produce an inaccurate translation because we may assume that because K generally means what, that we must use what in that context when we ought to use cuál. Because don't forget, even though que generally means what and cuál generally means which, que can mean which and cuál can mean what, depending on the context. So we're going to look at those rules. I've decided to analyze them based on three particular areas. So the first area is going to be with ser. So we're going to see what they mean when they are used with ser. Secondly, we're going to see what they mean when they are used with other verbs. And thirdly, we're going to see how they function when they are used with nouns, okay? So let's start with ser. Of course, you know ser means to be. In this context, both words will translate as what, right? So we need to find out we need to ascertain the intricacies of this particular area, okay? So when K is used with ser, it is used for definitions or explanations, right? So when we want to find out about a definition or we want to obtain an explanation, we use que. Of course, this is with the verb ser. So using que with ser is going to be used to ask for a definition. So, ¿qué es una cumbre? What is a summit? You can't say, ¿cuál es una cumbre? No, because you're asking for a definition. And definitions stipulate that you use que, right? So, ¿qué es una cumbre? A potential response could be, una cumbre es una reunión entre los líderes mundiales. A summit is a meeting among world leaders. I could ask, ¿qué es una vaca? ¿Qué es una montaña? Doesn't matter. But if we are trying to obtain a definition, we use que with the verb ser. Okay? On the other hand, when cuál is used with ser, it is used to gather specific information. So when we pose a question with the verb ser and we use cuál, we are trying to gather specific information, okay, or specific details. For example, ¿cuál fue la decisión? What was the decision? I can't say ¿qué fue la decisión? No, because that is specific information that I'm asking for, okay? I could say ¿qué es una decisión? Meaning what is a decision, because I'm asking for a definition, okay? But because I am asking for specific information, I need to use cuál, okay? ¿Cuál fue la decisión? I could change the tense, of course. ¿Cuál es la decisión? What is the decision? ¿Cuál será la decisión? What will the decision be? Or we could change it. What will be the decision? But yeah, ¿qué será la decisión? What will the decision be? Yeah, that sounds better, of course. And I gave a sample response. Decidieron ir al cine. They decided to go to the cinema. Decidieron ir al cine. Okay? So, of course, I chose to omit the subject because let's assume that it is already understood by context. Right? No. That's the first part. When we use them with ser. Okay? So, que plus ser is used to ask about definitions or explanations. Cuál with ser is used to gather specific information. So whenever we are using the verb ser and we want to know whether we should use que or cuál, just remember those contexts and it should be easy. Okay? Debe ser fácil. Now let's move on to other verbs. Okay? So when we use que and cuál with other verbs, they're going to be translated as what and which respectively. So que will translate as what, and cuál will translate as which. Right? Now, when que is used with other verbs, it translates as what, and it is used to gather specific information. So now que is being used to gather specific information, right? This is how we use que when we are talking about other verbs. So, ¿qué necesitas? What do you need? And of course, other verbs apart from ser, right? ¿Qué necesitas? What do you need? In order to answer that question, I have to provide specific details. Necesito una caja. I need a box. Right. ¿Qué quieres? What do you want? Yeah. So anytime we want to use que with another verb, it will translate as what. Right? ¿Qué haces? What are you doing? So in order to answer that question, I have to provide you with specific information. ¿Qué haces? Hago la maleta. Okay? I am packing my suitcase. Right? Hago la maleta. Right? So yes. That's right. Conversely, cuál. When cuál is used with other verbs, it translates as which, and it is used when there are choices or options. So this is a very key difference here. We use cuál when there are options, right? Because that's what which means. We use which with options, okay? So example, ¿cuál prefieres? Which one do you prefer? That which do you prefer or which one do you prefer? And that could also be plural. The plural form of that would be cuáles, right? But in this case, we're talking about one, so we use cuál. ¿Cuál prefieres? And in order to answer that, prefiero la tuya. I prefer yours. So that was one of the choices, and I chose that one, la tuya. Obviously, that would replace a noun that is singular and feminine, so that could replace la casa. Well, tu casa because it's tuya, it belongs to you. Tu casa, tu motocicleta, tu foto, etc. Any noun that is feminine and singular, right? So yes, when we use these two interrogatives with other verbs, they translate as what and which respectively. Que will be used to gather specific information, whereas cuál will be used when there are choices, right? So for sure you should remember cuál, because cuál in this case meaning which you just need to remember that once there are options, you need to use cuál. You can't use que in that context. You can't say que prefieres to mean which one do you prefer. No. No. All right. So now we are going to move on to the third context, which is going to be nouns. So we're going to see how these two interrogatives are used with nouns. Okay, so we move on to the final segment of this lesson, which is going to be nouns, right? So we are going to see how que and cuál are utilized when it comes to nouns, okay? Now, when it comes to nouns, they will both translate as which, okay? Just like how with the verb ser, they both translate as what. In this context with nouns, they will both translate as which. So que will be followed by a noun. So anytime you want to say which, we have to use que. No, sorry. When we use que to mean which, we use it with a noun. So we say, ¿qué parte no entiendes? Which part don't you understand? Now it is worth noting that in Latin America, cuál will be utilized here. ¿Cuál parte no entiendes? Okay? So cuál can actually be used before nouns, but que will be used before nouns in Spain. So that's something you need to bear in mind. So if you hear cuál parte is not incorrect, that's just how it is done in Latin America. But in Spain, ¿qué parte? A noun will always be preceded by que, not cuál in Spain, okay? So, ¿qué parte no entiendes? Which part don't you understand? Cuál now will be followed by the preposition de, followed by the group from which the choice must be made. So this is the structure when it comes to cuál with nouns, okay? We say cuál de esos países. Once again, we are talking about choice. So, ¿cuál de esos países quieres visitar? Which one of those countries you want to visit? You can't say ¿qué de esos países? No. So, ¿cuál de esos países quieres visitar? Which one of those countries you want to visit? Yep. So, when we're using que or cuál with nouns, this is what we have to pay attention. This is what we have to pay attention to, right? Que will be used before nouns, and that means which, whatever. So, que carro, which car. But, you know, in Latin America, they would say cuál, but stick to que, since Spain is the homeland, right? So, yeah, stick to que. Que país, que whatever, right? And that means which noun, right? Cuál now, you will use de and then the group from which the choice must be made. So, ¿cuál de esos países? Okay? ¿Cuál de esas chicas? Which one of those girls? Okay? So, yes, these are the rules that govern the usage of que and cuál. Espero que hayan entendido las diferencias. Ahora mismo vamos a tomar un examen para ver si ustedes entienden este tema. Okay, so we move on to the quiz. Select the correct option based on the context. Número 1. ¿Qué o cuál es la razón por la que ustedes decidieron quedarse en casa? Right? So what's the context? So we're trying to find out what. Well, in this case, we're using the verb ser. So remember, we use que for definitions, and we use cuál for specific information. Therefore, the answer is cuál, because with ser, cuál is for specific information, right? So this is asking. Let me see where she is. Okay. What is the reason for which you decided to stay at home? Right. So cuál, because we are trying to gather specific information. And remember, that is what cuál, that's what we're doing when we use cuál with ser. Dos, ¿qué o cuál color prefieres? ¿Qué? Because we have a noun and we're talking about which. But if you're in Latin America, cuál could also work. But because we are going to, because I want you to follow the Spanish example, I would recommend que, right? So, which color do you prefer? Tres, ¿qué o cuál tiene que ver ese asunto conmigo? Okay, so the context is that we're using que or cuál with another verb, a verb apart from ser. And remember the uses. So we use que when we want to ascertain specific information, and we use cuál when we have choices. Are there any choices? No. Therefore, que. Right? And that would be, what does that issue have to, let me just use a different pen, marker, sorry, to do with me? Right. What does that issue have to do with me? Número 4. ¿Qué o cuál de las chicas no hizo la tarea? This is easy, because remember, we have choices, right? So, and we have the preposition de. So that's obviously going to be cuál. Which one of the girls didn't do the assignment? And finally, ¿de qué o cuál bolsa están hablando? What's the context? We're talking, you have a noun. So obviously the context is which. ¿De qué bolsa? ¿De cuál bolsa? No. Because when you're talking about, if you're talking about something, hablar de algo. So, ¿de qué bolsa están hablando? Right? ¿De qué bolsa están hablando? Which bag are you talking about? That's right. Ok, hemos terminado. Espero que les guste el video. Muchas gracias por ver como siempre y hasta la vista.